Claire's gym bag hit the foyer bench with a soft thud as she darted past me, breathless, her sneakers squeaking against the hardwood floor. The front door clicked shut behind her with a force that rattled our apartment's lone wall clock. I lifted my half-drunk coffee from the counter, its metallic tang lingering on my tongue, and called out, "Claire, are you okay?" But she was already gone, and the low hum of Queens Boulevard drifted through the crack in the door. Before I could process the abrupt departure, my phone buzzed. An unknown number. My heart thudded as I unlocked the screen, a video thumbnail, time-stamped, last night, 11:08 p.m., with the neon glow of Ridgewood Fitness behind Claire. I tapped play and froze. Claire stood beside Jason, her personal trainer, his hand resting on her lower back as he guided her through a stretching routine. The gym's vinyl floor gleamed under fluorescent lights. Claire's workout gear clung to her sweat-damp frame, and Jason's shirt clung to his biceps. At the video's end, Claire rolled her shoulders, and Jason leaned in, brushing a lock of hair from her face. Laughter rippled from her lips, laughter I had expected only on our lazy Sunday mornings at Sunnyside Park. I exhaled a shaky breath, turning away from the screen as the acrid stench of burnt coffee tinged my nostrils. The hallway clock ticked loudly, each second hammering home my growing unease. My mind raced. She works out around 8 p.m. when I'm still at the office, but why would she be at Jason's apartment past 11? My pulse hammered against my temples, and I clenched the mug until my knuckles whitened. I recalled yesterday's conversation. "I'll be late at work tonight," I'd told her, squeezing her hand before heading out. She'd flashed me a bright smile, tossed back, "I'll hit my workout after my spin class, see you tomorrow, hon." At the time, I'd imagined her on the treadmill, pushing through intervals. Now I saw her in Jason's living room, their bodies too close, the barbell set abandoned by the TV. I lifted the mug to my lips, sipping the bitter dregs, letting the cold coffee anchor me. The clock's hands glared from the wall, 3 misses past midnight. I poured the remainder down the sink and set the empty mug on the counter. My stomach twisted as I opened our shared messaging app, fingers hovering over Jason's contact, now saved as J. Reed. I saw no entries from last night, just a silent thread littered with workout dates. My gaze snapped to the living room, the brass-trimmed wall clock ticked steadily above the mantel, its pendulum swinging with quiet precision. Its rhythm anchored me, breathe in, breathe out. I closed my eyes, inhaling the faint scent of Claire's jasmine shampoo lingering in the air. Stay composed. Gather proof. My internal monologue hammered against denial. I grabbed my laptop from the coffee table and flipped it open. My cursor hovered over the browser's address bar. My next step, download the video, verify its metadata, and preserve every second. Each click felt heavy, each file saved a nail driven into the coffin of our marriage's illusion. The clock's ticking echoed as I labeled the desktop folder evidence, fingers trembling. Before dawn spilled through the window, I typed a single line in my journal. April 22nd, discovered Claire at Jason's after-work session. Must confirm details, protect Emma's world. The clock ticked on. The room felt tighter, betrayal's echo settling into every corner. I exhaled, steeling myself, I would not crumble. The path ahead would be methodical, each measured step a testament to quiet resolve. And as the clock's hands inched forward, so would I, one deliberate beat at a time. The brass pendulum clock on our foyer wall ticked steadily as I slid onto the worn leather couch, the weight of its rhythmic swing echoing through my chest. My mind drifted back to gentler days, before late-night videos and furtive receipts fractured my world. I remember our first date at Grimaldi's in Dumbo, how Claire's laughter rang under the Brooklyn Bridge, and I spilled marinara sauce on my shirt. She had tossed back her head and teased me, "You've got sauce on you," and I'd been struck by the ease of being myself in her presence. That night, the lights of Manhattan shimmered on the East River, and I felt the spark of something enduring. Weeks later, I dragged her to scavenger hunts in Prospect Park, where she insisted on taking photos of every tulip, every historic monument. We were inseparable, partners in mischief and in dreaming. Our wedding on June 5, 2020, at the Brooklyn Botanic Garden remains etched in my memory, Claire's white dress billowing in the summer breeze, our vows exchanged beneath a canopy of cherry blossoms. The brass clock in the grand hall marked every second as I slipped a simple gold band onto her finger. We toasted with champagne beneath twinkling lights, feeling as though nothing could ever dim our future. When our daughter, Emma, arrived on January 12, 2022, life settled into a new rhythm. I recall holding her tiny hand in the hospital nursery, the brass pendulum clock ticking on the wall as if celebrating each precious second. Claire spent countless nights soothing Emma with lullabies, and I'd tiptoe out at dawn to grab coffee for both of them. The following weekends were devoted to turning our loft into a home, painting her nursery in pastel yellow, assembling the white crib, and hanging a small brass cuckoo clock above her changing table, its cheerful chime reminding us of simple joys. In those early months, date nights dwindled. Yet we rediscovered romance at rooftop cinema screenings, spreading a blanket under the stars with a sleeping Emma in the car seat beside us. When Claire returned to work part-time last summer, I cheered her on. On July 15, 2023, she celebrated her promotion to marketing coordinator at Ridgewood Fitness. We toasted at Spritzenhaus, sipping German lagers as the brass clock behind the bar chimed 11 p.m. She told me, "This means more stability for Emma," and I squeezed her hand. Subtle shifts surfaced in September 2023. I began finding unfamiliar gym bag receipts in our trash, 9:45 p.m., 60-minute HIIT class, and 10:15 p.m., post-workout smoothie. I asked her about them. She smiled and said, "My trainer, Jason, invited me to a late class. He said it would be fun, nothing serious." I nodded and tossed the receipts aside, believing in her honesty. On November 2, 2023, I noticed a recurring lift charge to Ridgewood Fitness Alley at 10:55 p.m. on October 28 and October 31. When confronted, she laughed lightly. "Those were extra sessions. Jason needed my help testing a new routine. You know, I've been trying to get stronger for Emma." I felt a twinge of unease but reminded myself of how dedicated she was to her health. I admired that. One cold December evening, I worked late in the home office. Around 1:15 a.m., I heard whispering from the hallway, Claire's voice, hushed, "I'm sorry, I know this is risky." Then Jason's deep tone, "Tonight was worth it." My chest tightened like the spring on our brass clock, an ominous warning. I tiptoed to the hallway, started down the corridor, but pulled back when Claire retrieved her gym bag. I believed she'd been concerned about a business pitch, so I let it go. By January 2024, the signs intensified. Claire started coming home later, often at 11:30 p.m., well past her promised 8 p.m. workouts. I found more gym receipts. December 29, 23, 10:45 p.m., one-on-one PT session. January 5, 24, 11:02 p.m., cooling down yoga. Each dawn, I'd find her workout clothes folded neatly on our bedroom chair, her water bottle at my bedside table. She called it training discipline, and I believed her resolve to stay healthy for Emma. On February 10, 2024, Emma woke screaming at 2:30 a.m. I stumbled into the living room, heart pounding, and the brass clock whirred on the mantel. Claire wasn't home yet. I dialed her phone, straight to voicemail. I felt panic ripple through me, picturing her crumpled somewhere instead of with our daughter. When she finally arrived at 3:45 a.m., she said, "Sorry, the session ran late. Jason insisted I stay." I pressed her. "He insisted. Why can't you call me?" She sighed and pressed a kiss on Emma's forehead, murmuring, "It won't happen again." I nodded, my own relief tainted by doubt. I scrutinized our shared calendar on March 14, 2024, 5 PT sessions, after 8 p.m. in the previous month. Then came a gym membership renewal fee, unlimited PT access, billed at $950 on March 1. I asked her, "Why did you renew for me?" Her shrug felt rehearsed. "Jason said it'll expedite my progress. I want to be my best for you and Emma." I accepted that, even as unease pressed at my ribs. By April 2024, I found a small brass key taped under our loft side table, marked "Jason's apt," in Claire's handwriting. I confronted her gently, "What's this?" She took a breath, saying, "Jason had to grab something from home, he forgot his key." I held onto it for him. Her eyes lacked conviction. My grandfather's brass pocket watch felt heavy as I considered her words. I pocketed the key and let it sit there unanswered. On April 18, 2025, I opened the bank app and saw a $120 dinner for two charge at Paloma, dated April 17, billed as post-workout meal. My palms grew clammy when I realized that date was also listed as PT session on her calendar. I pulled the brass pendulum clock from the mantel, its ticking sharp and insistent, time to connect the dots. I felt the knot in my gut tighten, denial slipping away. I glanced at Emma's stuffed owl on the armchair, its button eyes reflecting the clock's pendulum. Guilt and sorrow welled as I imagined her waking to an empty room, stumbling to find only one parent. I ran my hand over the clock's brass casing and realized I needed more than suspicion, I needed proof. With measured resolve, I rose and tucked the brass clock into my jacket pocket, my first step toward unraveling every last secret. The pendulum swung as I left the living room, ready to transform gut-wrenching doubt into deliberate action, each tick a heartbeat guiding me through the uncertainty ahead. The brass pendulum clock's soft tick echoed in the kitchen as I sank onto a stool, my palms slick from the coffee I'd poured to stay sharp. With April 19th at dawn already unfolding, I knew I couldn't wait another moment. I pulled out my phone and texted my brother, Alex. Need you in Brooklyn today. Call me ASAP. Then I called my longtime friend, Rebecca Lynn, our family's go-to counselor, explaining everything, the gym videos, the late-night receipts, and the brass key marked Jason's apt, hidden under the side table. She listened quietly, then offered, document every detail. I'll help you set up a log for Emma's behavior and your own emotional state. We'll prep you for whatever comes next. April 19, 2025, 10 a.m. I met Alex at Beans and Brews in Dumbo. He slid into the booth and said, "Show me whatever you have." My laptop was already open. I showed him the April 12th video of Claire and Jason in his loft, the April 17th text, "I need to feel alive again," and the April 18th security camera stills I'd hastily captured on my phone. His expression hardened, and he folded his arms. "We'll build a case," he said. "First, evidence. Then counsel. Then resolve." April 19, 2025, 2 p.m. I pulled into Sarah Ramirez's office near the Williamsburg waterfront. Her door bore a brass nameplate that caught the late morning sun. Inside, the air smelled of polished wood and fresh legal pads. I handed over printed screenshots, Claire's texts with Trey, "Can't wait to see you tonight, last rep for us," and scanned copies of the April 12th gym bag receipts for late PT session, $75. I also showed her April 17th pro forma dinner for two, $120 from Paloma, tagged as post-workout meal. Sarah listened without interruption, her gaze steady. She leaned forward. "Mark, we'll file for legal separation. You need to preserve every bit of evidence in original form. That means notarized copies of these screenshots, bank statements, and any security camera footage you can obtain. We'll also draft a custody proposal for Emma, she's your top priority." She tapped her pen on a notepad. "I want a clear timeline, each workout session, every late return, the charges, the texts. We'll turn your notes into affidavits." April 20th, 2025, 9 a.m. Back at our loft, I installed two compact security cameras from TechGuard. One I mounted above the foyer, aimed at the front door, the other I fixed in the hallway outside Claire's gym gear closet. Each camera recorded to an encrypted 64 GB SD card labeled April 20th, and April 20th, B. I tested the feeds. Lori's sneakers appeared at 10:05 p.m. on one, then the camera near Jason's apartment, set up under Rebecca's guidance, caught her entering his building at 10:30 p.m. and returning to our loft at 1:05 a.m. My chest tightened as I watched the replay, proof, time-stamped. I created a leather-bound journal for logging. Entries began with a date header, followed by columns labeled time left, return time, Emma's behavior, and my notes. The brass pendulum clock above the mantel swung methodically as I wrote. April 20th, 2025, Claire left at 10:05 p.m., returned at 1:05 a.m. Emma woke at 12:30 a.m., cried for mommy. I held her until 1:15 a.m. felt disoriented, strong resolve to protect Emma. Each line I wrote felt like cementing my resolve. The clock's pendulum ticked as if nodding in silent agreement, time mattered. April 21st, 2025, 3 p.m. Alex arrived to help sort evidence. Our home office turned into a makeshift command center. Binder 1, texts and emails, printouts of April 12th, April 17th, April 18th messages. Binder 2, receipts and bank statements, April 12th gym bag, April 17th Paloma check, April 18th dinner tab. Binder 3, security footage, labeled SD cards, 20A, 20B, 18A, 18B. Binder 4, Emma's welfare, journal entries from April 18 to 21 describing her clinginess and nightmares. Alex color-coded each category with tabs and helped me staple notarized affidavits to messages printed on legal paper. By evening, the binder sat neatly on a shelf, ready for Sarah's review. I texted Sarah. All binders ready for May 1 filing. Need your final go-ahead. Within minutes, her reply blinked, excellent, Mark. I'll prepare the petition for Friday at 9 a.m. Let's meet before then. April 22, 2025, 8 p.m. I met Rebecca via video call to discuss Emma's emotional needs moving forward. She guided me through documenting every sign of distress. April 18, Emma refused naps, clung to me, sobbed for mommy. April 20, Emma's speech regressed, replaced words with babbles when I asked her where Claire was. April 21, Emma wet the bed for first time, nightmares of mommy flying away. Rebecca explained, these observations are crucial. Judges need to see how Emma's environment affects her. You must show stability and care at every turn. I nodded, closing my journal and placing the brass pendulum clock beside it. Its pendulum ticked on, as though urging me onward. April 23, 2025, 11 a.m. I opened a new section in my journal labeled, Custody Proposal. I drafted. Primary custody. Emma resides with Mark at all times, with a safe, stable home environment. Visitation, supervised weekend visits, Saturday 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., for Claire at a neutral location, contingent on therapy completion and stable living arrangements. Child support, payment of $1,200 per month from Claire's earnings, covering daycare at Little Lights Academy, pediatric visits at Rocky Mountain Children's Clinic, and a summer preschool contingency of $500. Therapeutic counseling, weekly sessions for Emma with a licensed child therapist. My pen paused as I added, every word here crafted for Emma's best interests. The pendulum clock ticked a steady affirmation. April 24, 2025, 7:30 p.m. That evening, I sat in Sarah's office, handing her the binders one by one. She thumbed through them, nodding at each section. You've done thorough work, Mark, she said, then prepared the legal separation petition. We'll file first thing May 1st. You'll be asking the court for a temporary custody order, supervised visitation for Claire, and child support. I want to send this to the clerk tomorrow for review. I exhaled deeply, feeling a rush of calm. Sarah added, I'll represent you at the initial hearing. Be ready to testify to each detail, but your documents speak for themselves. I nodded, looking toward the brass pendulum clock behind me, its rhythmic swing a reminder that, though betrayal had shattered my world, I still moved forward, measured, deliberate, resolute. April 25, 2025, 9 p.m. Back home, I tucking Emma into bed, reading her favorite book, Good Night, Gorilla, and paused at the doorway with the brass pendulum clock in my hand. Emma's eyelids drooped as I kissed her forehead. The clock ticked once more, and I whispered, tomorrow, we take back our life. As I closed the door to her nursery, I felt a quiet strength. I would walk this path methodically, step by step, each tick of the pendulum guiding me toward justice and a new beginning. On May 1, 2025, I arrived at Sarah Ramirez's Prospect Heights office, the brass pendulum clock on her shelf ticking steadily behind me. Claire sat across from me, shoulders stiff, eyes red-rimmed. I placed the folder labeled, Evidence, May Motion, on the polished oak desk and took a deep breath. Claire, I began, voice calm, before we go any further, I need you to understand exactly what I've found. I opened to the first page, a screenshot of her April 17 text to Jason. I need to feel alive again. Below it, his response, tonight at my place, can't wait. Claire drew in a shaky breath, glancing at the brass pendulum clock behind me. Sarah leaned forward. We also have security footage from April 18, she said, sliding two still photographs across the desk. In the first, Claire's silhouette appears at 10:22 p.m., stepping into Jason's East Williamsburg loft. In the second, at 1:05 a.m., her coat is draped over Jason's shoulders as they laugh in his living room. Claire's face drained of color. I continued, voice steady, I found a gym bag charge at Ridgewood Fitness on April 14, $75 billed for a late PT session, and the $120 dinner for two at Paloma on April 17, tagged post-workout meal. You told me those were post-exercise smoothies and a catch-up dinner with a friend. I paused, lifting a framed wedding photo, us beneath the Brooklyn Bridge on June 5, 2020, and turned it face down so its image no longer shone. Claire's shoulders slumped. Jaws tight, she squeezed her eyes shut as if bracing for impact. Sarah added, "We have the brass key labeled, Jason's apt, found on April 18, taped under your side table, proof you had unrestricted access." The key lay ominously beside the folded wedding photo. Claire's lip trembled as she met my gaze. I held my voice low. Trust was the foundation of our marriage. You rebuilt that trust around a falsified workout routine. I pressed my thumb against the key's cold metal. This key opened our home. You left Emma alone to see him. The weight of the key echoed in my palm as Claire's tears fell. Sarah closed the evidence folder and handed Claire a tissue. As of today, I will file our separation petition. Custody terms will reflect Claire's choice to prioritize her affair over Emma. Claire's breath caught, her murmur barely audible, "I'm sorry." I rose, placing the key and the wedding photo, once symbols of our future, into the folder. Each symbolic item now a testament to betrayal. "Goodbye, Claire," I said quietly, feeling the tension lift from my shoulders as I opened the office door. Outside, May 1 ST's afternoon sun shimmered off Prospect Heights brownstones. The brass pendulum clock's tick from inside seemed to resonate in my chest, each measured swing a reminder that this chapter had closed. With that final echo of betrayal's breath, I stepped into the light, ready to reclaim our life, one deliberate moment at a time. 2 weeks later, May 15, 2025, I sat in Brooklyn family court as Judge Alvarez signed the final divorce decree. Claire relinquished our Boerum Hill loft and agreed to supervised weekend visits for Emma, 3, contingent on completing counseling and securing stable housing. I obtained primary residential custody. A support order required Claire's monthly payment of $1,200, covering daycare at Little Lights Academy, pediatric visits at Brooklyn Children's Clinic, and a $500 summer preschool fund. Each clause felt like a new plank in rebuilding Emma's world. That evening, I returned home and gathered Claire's yoga mats and dumbbells, placing them in a donation box by the door. I hung a new framed photo above the mantel, Emma's first ballet recital at the Brooklyn Academy, her sparkly tutu illuminated under soft stage lights. The brass pendulum clock from our entryway now sat beside the photo, its steady tick marking the beginning of our routine. Over the next 2 weeks, late May 2025, I re-established a nurturing schedule, morning story time over oatmeal before walking Emma to daycare, afternoon visits to Prospect Park puppet shows, and bedtime lullabies while holding the brass clock against her small hand. Each ritual rebuilt trust through consistency. I reconnected with Alex, Sunday hikes in the Hudson Highlands, where we shared stories under emerging summer green. Rebecca continued counseling sessions for Emma, helping her process the separation through drawing and play therapy. Emma's smile returned, she delighted in chasing ducks at Brooklyn Bridge Park and savoring ice cream from Ample Hills, each small joy a testament to healing. One May 28, 2025 evening, after tucking Emma into bed, I opened my laptop and drafted my first blog post for From Betrayal to Balance. I described confronting betrayal with calm resolve, preserving evidence, and prioritizing a child's stability. By midnight, I hit publish and waited. Within hours, messages arrived from parents across New York and beyond. "Your story gave me strength, thank you for showing how to rebuild." I smiled, outlining future posts, rebuilding trust in co-parenting, finding solitude with purpose, and mentoring others through heartbreak. On May 31, 2025, Emma and I picnicked at Brooklyn Bridge Park. She skipped between daisies, clutching her stuffed owl, while I watched the Manhattan skyline glow at dusk. I checked the brass pendulum clock, it's ticking a promise that every moment counts. In Emma's laughter, I discovered renewed purpose. Love isn't defined by fidelity alone, but by the resilience to transform pain into a bright new beginning. The pendulum swung on my mantel, steady, sure, reminding me that time moves forward, and so do I.